We've made it. We have made it. The biggest week of college football is here. Week five is upon us. This is the preview show. How about this? Face cam for the first time. Right? Wondering, what I've, what we've ever used a face cam. We're finally doing it the first time. So now you know what I look like. Now I have a face to put to our show. At least on the YouTube side of things. You're on Spotify. This is not relevant, but on YouTube, how about that face cam? But yeah, for Verticals Podcast episode 129, week five predictions, Tuesday poll. We got some Marvel and Star Wars news. We have some breaking news of Mike Gundy being fired. A lot of things to talk about, man. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Spotify, Twitter X, YouTube channel as well. We do this show twice a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, around this time in the afternoon. Sometimes I have to do a little bit later. But yeah, first time doing the face cam. Of course, we're high atop a still somewhat dry Jacksonville, Florida. And yes, we are watching the tropics as well. You got some tropical features that could be somewhat in play this week. So we'll see about, we have to move some stuff around. We did that last year with tropical stuff. A couple times last year, and moved some shows around and combined shows. So at the moment, so far so good. Fingers crossed here on YouTube. But we'll be keeping an eye on it. But yeah, we have week five predictions, a lot of things to talk about. I mean, this is going to be probably one of the longest shows we have done probably in a while. So strap yourselves in. But yeah, I'm going to get some water real quick from this cup here. And we shall get started. So Yeah, we'll say it's so weird having to use the face cam. It's kind of bewildering, but we haven't done it for a while. I figured got to start somehow. I got to put a face to the name here. But week five predictions. Got a lot of huge games. We're covering basically all the major games. We're saving some of the other games like Washington, Ohio State. We'll just say that might be the sneakiest game of the week, and no one's talking about it. Mississippi State and Tennessee play this weekend, I believe, as well. So a lot of sneaky upset games or major upset games. We're going to cover those on Thursday. We're doing the big games today, the big boys, if you will. And this one, didn't think I'll be saying this, but by golly, the biggest game, I think, in Penn State history, at least in the regular season. Penn State hosting Oregon. This is the whiteout game. It's 7:30 on NBC. Todd Blackledge, Noah Eagle will be there. College Game Day is going to be there. Some other folks aren't going there for some reason, which kind of makes me a little bit confused. Penn State needs this. Penn State really does need this from a confidence standpoint. Just get that out of the way. A lot of you who have watched or listened to this show, both on Spotify and Twitter, Spotify and YouTube, know for a while that I have been a staunch James Franklin defender. There's no doubt about it. I have been. And I can already sense the number of saved articles, waiting to be published out if Penn State were to lose about James Franklin, the big one. James Franklin can't win the big one. He's, this, that, and the other. That's going to happen. I guarantee you there are a ton of articles already being saved up. They've been written since the spring after they lost to Notre Dame in the semifinal about after this game specifically. If they lose this game, you're going to see a lot of those articles and videos coming out and whatnot. Just warning you that's going to happen. But they need this, man. I mean, it's a whiteout. It's at night, an atmosphere. And look, I've never been to a whiteout before. Personally, even I'm wearing a white shirt. No, I'm not doing it as a reference to Josh Pate. You can look at it as that. But no, I've never been there before. I've always wanted to go there. I know the atmosphere it doesn't matter who you are. If you're, an Ohio State fan or a Michigan State fan, or I guess whenever they've had a whiteout for any of those games, or Auburn a couple years ago. I've always wanted to go there, but yeah, I think James Franklin and them, they need this. They really do need this as a confidence boost and sort of as an announcement to the country that they are a legit threat. I mean, I get it. All the talking points about, James Franklin can't win the big one. It's, again, like I said, all of those articles, there's tons of them that are saved up right now. They're in draft. All you need to do is if you're any of these reporters, fill in the game information and submit them. But Oregon also needs this too. I mean, Oregon, after what happened with the semifinal last year and losing, or not the semifinal, but the first playoff game they played, well, is it, what do you call it, the quarterfinal, I believe? I don't, terminology in college ball is weird these days, but yeah, the quarterfinal, semifinal. I mean, like the quarterfinal. I mean, it was just, is what it, was what it was. And, they have another chance to beat Penn State and get another huge win, huge statement on the road. And I think it'll be huge for them. But the problem is, though, we're getting all this stuff about, the highest scoring team in the Big Ten, have Dante Moore, quarterback, who is still young for the most part, even though he's been in college for a couple of years. First time being a starter in a little bit. Last time he was starting was at Utah in the Pac-12. That kind of tells you how long ago that was. But for Oregon, what makes me concerned is not the team, not the talent, not Dan Lanning. It's the dynamics here. And I think this is where you may be seeing where I'm leaning here, picking this game. Oregon is traveling across multiple times. They've done that before already, right? They Northwestern, Purdue last year, to Michigan, to Ann Arbor. But to go into a Penn State team, I know, again, not only is the game at night, not only is it a whiteout, but Penn State's rested. You're going to see that being a recurring theme later on with a different game, as I sort of fixed the camera here, with a different game we're predicting today. Penn State's rested. They have the bye advantage here. Not to mention, they also, again, Oregon mentioned the whiteout. I mean, they get to experience that for the first time ever. Probably the most intimidating atmosphere they've ever been to. And I just, with all those things sort of combined here, and it does not go well for the visiting team. It just doesn't. I mean, it's clear. I mean, go ask any of a number of teams recently, like Auburn, I think Ohio State, a couple of times, although those were during the day. But still, I mean, it does not go well for the visiting team most of the times. And I think this will be a challenge for Oregon, for sure. The biggest factor for me for this game is Penn State's running back room. Ketron Allen, Nick Singleton, two guys who could have very easily went to the draft last year. They were, I think, both of them were getting first-round grades, and they came back. And I think in a lot of ways, I think Josh Pate has sort of echoed this too, is that this Penn State team, to me, sort of like Ohio State last year and Michigan with Harbaugh the year before, is sort of a representation of a dying breed in college football. It's just that these super, senior, veteran-laden teams that are really, really experienced, that guys have been programmed for a long time and sort of been through the wars, that, these are the type of teams that you're going to see less and less of now, with the portal and sort of the way the sport's going. And yeah, I think this is sort of the last of a dying breed. And, for both of these guys, Allen and Singleton, I don't have to be like, Marcus Allen or O.J. Simpson or Bo Jackson or Walter Payton. I don't have to be any of those guys. They just have to be the best version of themselves. That's all they have to be. And I think for them, they need to be the star of this game. Not necessarily, it's not a detriment to Drew Aller, but I mean, you have two guys in the backfield that are the best running back combo in the country, and Oregon has never probably faced that at all, really, frankly, since Dan Lanning's been there. At least this type of caliber running back. I mean, I guess Ohio State last year, and I guess Georgia in Lanning's first game back a couple years ago, but those guys need to be the key here. I mean, I can already picture it myself already. I mean, it's like, fourth down or 3rd and 5, last fourth down, like 4th down and 1 late in the game. Penn State needs to get a crucial conversion. Those guys will be the factor here. Those guys will be the difference, I think, in this game, or at least could be the biggest factor in this game. I think in terms of, the scoring output, I think this will be a lower scoring game, emphasis on running clock and running the football. So if I were betting, for example, I'll probably bet the under. Actually, let me go check. Let me do some research on the fly. What's the over-under on the game? Let's see here. Penn State over-under 52.5 on FanDuel. Not a sponsor of the show, even though we got the blue curtains behind me here. That's not a FanDuel reference, or not. Or is it? Yeah, over under 52.5. I'll probably bet the under on that. I just don't see this being a very high scoring game. Back to my notes here. I just think this comes down to the scheduling dynamics. Again, Penn State's rested, Oregon's not. That to me is a recipe for a loss. FanDuel number, again, not a sponsor of the show, but they do this for research purposes. FanDuel has Penn State minus 3.5 now. What is interesting is that now we're into week 5, and we now have access to the College Football Nerds model. CFE Nerds, Josh and Daniel and those guys. By the way, I have the model linked on the bottom description of the show, so if you want to check them out, support them. They're not necessarily friends of the program, but their model is out there for everyone to use. It's public, so you can I don't think you have to create an account anymore. I think they mentioned that on their couple of videos a couple of days ago, or videos, one of the videos a couple of days ago. But yeah, so now in the time of the year, we can use the CFB Nerds model to help us predict some of these games, albeit it's early in the year, so some of the model output's not, we can't really use all of it, hinting to a game we'll cover later. But their model has Penn State minus 1.8, so just a little bit below that. So they're thinking it's going to be a little more closer than that. I disagree with the model and the FanDuel line. I think Penn State wins. I think they cover. I just don't like the dynamics here for Oregon. Now, look, grant you, covering a 3.5 or a 1.8 spread is not saying a whole lot. So it'd be like, I don't know, like 24, 21, something like that, or 27, 21. So it's not a major cover, but yeah, I like Penn State here to win. I think I've been very, very poignant about Penn State winning this game from the get-go. I just think the dynamics work out for them. It's a perfect sort of combination or a smorgasbord of things to come sort of combining here, sort of the perfect recipe for them to win this game. And again, I think it's a perfect game for Penn State. I think it's a sort of one of those. It's just a big game for them. And I know it's cliche to say that, but for Penn State, again, I guarantee if they lose this game and Oregon were to win this game, which would be huge for Oregon, but for Penn State, again, I'm telling you, there's a lot of articles that are being drafted right now, or have been drafted, are being saved. All they needed to do, if Penn State were to lose, publish, before to hit the publish button, put in the game information, hit publish, and then there we go. So if you're Penn State, it's in your best interest to win the game outright, and I think they will, and I think they will cover just a little bit. This next one, again, another huge one. UGA Bama, not the featured game we were leading off with. I think if you're, if you're to tell ourselves this back 4 or 5 months ago, back like during the spring and the summer, us not leading off with UGA Bama and leading off with the Big Ten team or a Big Ten focused game, I probably would have told at least myself back then would have been like, man, that's crazy. But no, hey, that's kind of proof that we're not a Big Ten, or we're not a SEC shill, I guess. So we're not. Can't accuse us of that. But anyway, UGA Bama, 7:30 on ABC. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit calling this game. A lot of ways you can go of this one. So obviously growing up in the state of Alabama, I know this game has been sort of, in a lot of ways, feels like, of course I wasn't born in the 1980s or around that time, but kind of has that same feel, at least from what I've heard from other people as well, from like industry people and stuff like that, about this sort of rivalry of Bama, Georgia being sort of like the Cold War. The U.S. and the Soviet Union, and while it didn't actually kinetically fight each other, it wasn't kinetic war. It was more like, a war of words, and you have like the sort of proxy wars of like the Korean War in Vietnam, and the U.S. invading Grenada. But the two superpowers there, they didn't actually fight each other. They fight each other in spurts. In the proxy wars, they didn't actually fight each other. This is the college football equivalent of that. These two teams, within the last 10 years or so, have only met each other in the regular season 4 times. 10 years ago to the day, I think, pretty close actually. 10 years to the day. Well, it is, 2015 was the last time this was played in Athens, but 10 years ago, 2020. Let me wipe some spit off there on the camera. 2020, 2015, and then last year in Tuscaloosa. So it's only been a handful of times. You can count 4 on my fingers here, 4 fingers here, that they have met in the regular season. Of course, they've met, in back when the SEC had divisions. Of course, those 2 teams would, of course, meet each other a lot. Of course, they met in the national title a couple years ago, and Georgia won. But this is basically college football's Cold War. It really, very much so feels like that. And thankfully now, with divisions not being a thing anymore in college football, and 9 conference games, we'll get this game a lot more often on campus. So that's great. Bama has been horrid on the road, and I think that's been pretty clear. You saw that earlier this year with Florida State. You saw that going back to last year, the OU game, and then the Vanderbilt game, and even some of the games they won that were not necessarily clean. I guess the only game that's sort of the outlier at this point is the LSU win last year. But Bama, even going back to the Saban years, this whole competitive anxiety thing has been a trend for several years. Going back to like the 2 Tennessee, the Tennessee game last year, but like the Tennessee game with Hendon Hooker. The Brian Kelly's first LSU Bama game. It's like this competitive anxiety thing's been a really weird trend for Bama. Even going back to the Saban years, it's been like that. And Georgia, if you want to go on the flip side, has had a Bama problem. And this can help sort of cleanse himself of that by winning Saturday. And I think the biggest matchup for Bama for this game, Bama Georgia, is Bama's D line versus Georgia's O line. I think Georgia is going to want to emphasize running the football again, much like the Penn State game. Even though those guys over there in State College are more proven than the guys in Athens, the guys in Athens don't have to be, like Walter Payton, O.J. Simpson. They just need to be the best versions of themselves. And that O-line needs to deliver, which has been the sort of nucleus for Georgia football for much of my life with Kirby Smart being there. Same thing with Bama. That D-line needs to show up in a game like this. And this, much like the Penn State New Oregon game, I think this will be that's where the game is going to get won in the trenches. And even just going away from that, too, like these are, the two premier coaching staffs in the country, and SEC for that matter, from top to bottom. Some of the most respected coaches, recruiters, strength and conditioning, nutritionists, marketing, in the world of college football. Like, this is as good as you can get. And going at each other, right? I mean, Kalen Debore, Kirby Smart, their offensive coordinators, D coordinators, again, their whole coaching staffs and, positions you haven't heard of, best in the country. I mean, you could set, this is literally what I just said last year and copy and pasted it this year. I mean, it's incredible. But just going back to the sort of historical aspects of it, and we'll get back to the quarterback thing here in a moment, because that's what everyone's going to be talking about for sure, right? I mean, it's best position, where it's the most high-end position in football. But regardless, whoever loses this game, their respective states, so either Georgia, the state of Georgia, or state of Alabama, or their respective fan base, will treat it like a national tragedy. Like, it's going to be like that the days after the game, whoever loses it, like on that Sunday, Monday. My computer screen blacked out here. There we go. Comes back on. Like that, the following Sunday, this coming up Sunday, Monday, like, it's going to be a national tragedy for either state. It's going to be a day of mourning. I know it seems kind of cheesy to say that, but it is. It's going to feel like it. I mean, these fan bases are emotional. They hate each other. Not to mention a lot of these fan bases know each other because they live near each other. Given obviously the two states are next to each other, but what is interesting here, I guess we'll bring up the quarterbacks here, and that's the other part, right? I mean, you have Ty Simpson and Gunnar Stockton, and Gunnar Stockton, has looked pretty good, right? Mike Bobo, everyone's criticizing him for not opening up the playbook too much, and a lot of folks are kind of getting on his ass for better after 2 years. And you go look at the Tennessee game, it's like, wow, Georgia can throw the football. Man, this is amazing. Wow. I know you can't see me on podcast. I'm smiling right now because that's how Georgia fans feel right now. They don't know how to kind of react, I guess, after the Tennessee game, how their offense sort of exploded. But even Ty Simpson, and look, I know it's, ULM or Louisiana Monroe and Wisconsin after the Florida State game, but I may have been a little bit early to say that he can't play the position. They were probably going to pivot to Keelan Russell, but he's looked okay so far. But grant you, it's a very small sample size, including a loss at Florida State. But going back to the sort of historical big picture here, and of course, I think Thursday we may do some final thoughts on this. We'll see, but I think this might be enough. But for Georgia fans specifically, I'm talking to you guys mainly, right? I mean, you have to show up for this game, and provided it's a massive home field, and provide what could be a massive home field advantage for you. Again, this is the first time in 10 years you guys are hosting Bama in your stadium. Again, the last time it happened, it was, I think it was like, I'm trying to remember, I know there was a lot of rain. I think it was with some sort of tropical system or whatever. Regardless, it was, a rainy day in Athens. And Bama came in, and they were like a dog like they are in this game. And it was after they lost to Ole Miss at home. It was a Derrick Henry, Jacob Coker team. They came in and they blew you guys out. That was Mark Richt's final nail in the coffin for him. That losing to Florida later that year. But you guys need to show up. You guys need to provide, again, what could be a massive home field advantage for you guys. Again, it sucks, back, when you guys had it, we were in the SEC East, so you didn't have a lot of big games, and that's when, like, Florida wasn't, up and keeping up their end of their bargain, and not to mention that games in Jacksonville, and the Tennessee game wasn't always that competitive and still really isn't, especially when they go to Athens. But this is a big time for you guys. This is a big opportunity to sort of show to the world that Athens, Georgia, Sanford Stadium is one of the best premier atmospheres in college football. And there's a reason why you guys have not lost since 2019. South Carolina, Ole Miss champ. It's been that long since you guys have lost a game at home. So, even with all that being said, the home field advantage stuff, and given, it's the first time in since 2015, 10 years since this game's been in Athens. Not to mention, too, there's some rumors going around about them wearing the black jerseys. I don't think that's happening, though. If it did happen, okay, interesting choice. But as we sort of, wind down with the preview here, and we sort of finally actually predict what's going to happen, at least what I think will happen in this game. Well, I saw this stuff about Georgia and how, the home field advantage thing could be huge for them, and how the offense has gone better with Gunner and it's sort of been developing, if you will. I can't shake out of my head that Kalen Debore is undefeated against Sark, Lanning, and Kirby combined. I can't shake that from my head. I said it last year, too, and Josh Pay's also echoed that as well. Excuse me, Kalen Debore, I don't know what it is. It's like if you stick Dan Lanning, Sark, or Kirby in front of him, it's like, undefeated. Hasn't lost yet. I can't shake that. I can't. Even despite the fact that Bama, I can't trust him right now, even after the Florida State thing, but I just can't shake that out of my head. And that's something that will not leave my mind. He has not lost any of these guys yet, who are the premier coaches in the sport right now. So that's something I cannot shake. So with all that being said, let's look at what the College Football Nerds model says in FanDuel. FanDuel, again, not sponsor of the show, just using for research purposes. They have Georgia minus 2.5. I don't think that has a change. Let me just double check. I know I did these last night. Let's see here, Georgia, FanDuel, still the same. Okay, it's not changed. I would imagine these have not changed that much. But, Georgia minus 2.5. The CFB Nerds model, however, again, it's early in the year, so their model, I think Daniel and Josh had mentioned this, that it's, it's working on early data, right? It has Bama minus 22.3. That's interesting. So, again, your range is a very small sample size. That's kind of jarring. I'm sure if this game was being played like 2 weeks from now, I'm sure the model would have been adjusted a little bit more. But, yeah, Bama minus 22.3. Interesting. I don't know how that happened. I believe the way the model works, it spits out the score, the most average score, whatnot, and that was how much Bama won by. So, okay. I'm not going that direction, but again, I cannot leave my mind that not only does Georgia have this like psychological problem with Bama, but again, I've been so back and forth on this. Again, the fact that it's in Athens for the first time in 10 years. Georgia wants to get this, psychological thing out of their head with Bama. They need to doing that, having it being at home helps out. They need to win this Saturday to sort of cleanse himself of that. But I also can't get out of my head that Debore is undefeated versus Kirby, Lanning, and Sark. I just can't get out of that mind. And I'm going to trust Bama here. I think they win the game outright. I have no real feel here on the spread. I mean, look, the CFP Nerds model could be right, and Bama could go in there and make a statement. They very much so could, much like they did in 2015. But, I mean, like I said, I've been back and forth on this game so much. I'm sticking with Bama. I think Kalen Debore, again, just something about him facing those coaches, he always shows up. And he has never lost to any of those coaches yet. Until he does, then I'll be proven wrong. So I'm taking Bama to win out the game outright. I don't trust Bama to do it, but I trust that Kalen Debore, for some reason, has this, mental thing about beating these coaches. And he's done it so far. He hasn't done it. He hasn't lost yet. And until he proves me wrong, then I'll think otherwise. So, again, as we sort of get to the middle of the show here, hopefully the camera's working out pretty well. I'm using my iPad and I have the computer pulled up, and of course I'm using the microphone to talk for the folks on Spotify. But yeah, for folks on YouTube, hopefully the camera is doing well. I know it's not the best if I move my lamp here, desk lamp over here. I guess it's kind of bright. I guess it's okay. But yeah, first time doing it with the video camera. Hopefully it looks good. Hopefully the quality is just as good. But figured may as well do it at some point. I mean, no one watches the show anyway, so it's kind of, who cares? But get some more water real quick, and we'll move on to the rest of the games. We're not done yet at all. I mean, we're still going. We're trucking along. There's a lot of things to talk about. So, I mean, we have college football stuff to finish up, previews. We have the Tuesday poll We have some Marvel and Star Wars news. We have the Mandalorian trailer. Mike Gundy got fired today, or we got let go. So a lot of things to discuss here. We're not done yet at all. Period. I mean, we're not done yet. This one's interesting to me. This is probably, out of all the big games we're talking about, this one and Ole Miss versus LSU in terms of the premier games, not the upset alert games we'll talk about on Thursday. Like this one, LSU, Auburn, Texas A&M, and LSU, Ole Miss. No one's talking about. And then not to me, like Ole Miss and LSU is a ranked matchup. This game is not a ranked matchup, even though I think it should be. But yeah, Texas A&M hosting Auburn. A&M is off a bye. That helps. Auburn is not. They're off a very emotional, physical game against Oklahoma. The FanDuel number, according to them, is Texas A&M minus 6.5. I have concerns here for Auburn. I just really do. I mean, let's not bury the lead here. I think A&M wins the game, and I think they cover. So I guess whenever we do games like this where I kind of have a good feel about who's going to win, how would the upset happen here? How would it happen? Well, Texas A&M has not faced a receiving core like Auburn has, right? Auburn has Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, Perry Thompson has been on a milk carton, missing somewhat of disappointment given his recruiting caliber. So yeah, Auburn's receivers, the best group A&M has faced all year, and I think a lot of folks will look at the Notre Dame game as, C.J. Carr and those guys really carved them up, even though A&M won the game, which was great. But I think what Auburn also would have to do, well, I guess come back to the receivers real quick or stand on that, helps with Jackson Arnold actually hitting those guys in stride. And, I'm not giving up on them yet, the offense, and at least them, being able to hit those at some point, because they're getting guys go up, right? I mean, Cam Coleman, gee whiz, and he's going to be a really good guy in the pros, but man, like I said on the reaction show on Sunday, the difference in between guys, the pro guys in college football is just there with quarterbacks, right? I mean, if that was Baker Mayfield or Josh Allen or whomever, that's a touchdown. I get it. Yeah, they're pros, and this, Jackson's still relatively young, but in terms of his career as a college guy, but it's just, man, you got to hit that, bro. You got to hit that, but. So that potential is still there, right? I mean, the A&M secondary, well, again, they have earned their strides, A&M. They beat Notre Dame on the road. They look fairly competent for the most part. They've not faced a receiving core like this just yet. So that is for Auburn. That's in your wheelhouse. Not to mention, I think Auburn defensively is a little bit better than people think. It kind of makes you wonder about that Baylor result. If it was just, hey, you played against a really high-quality quarterback and Sawyer Robinson and a offense that likes to throw the football, maybe that just was what it was, right? And maybe this Auburn defense, that D-line in particular, could cause A&M some problems here. Of course, Marcel Reed, more of a pure runner type, if you want to use the video game terminology. Sort of a pure runner. He's, look, an A&M game, he sort of did grow up a little bit. He had a good passing day. He threw for yards, although, yes, the completion percentage wasn't great. But still not terrible, and I think he sort of grew up a little bit. But for A&M, that's concerning, right? Given that you're facing a really good defensive line, and you're also, I guess, the flip side on defense, you haven't faced a really good receiving core yet. Probably be the best one you faced all year. So that bodes well for Auburn if you want them to win. But I don't think they're going to. I guess we'll discuss the other. Let me wipe off some spit here on the camera. But I guess we'll circle back to that. So let's go with what the model says, the CFP Nerds model. Again, FanDuel, A&M minus 6.5. Their model, CFP Nerds, has Auburn minus 3.5. According to their model, at least the result that they bring up on theirs, their average result, has Auburn winning by 3.5, which is interesting to me. Really is. So, yeah, like I said, I think A&M wins. I think they cover. I think the scheduling dynamic here sucks for Auburn. A&M's rested. They were off last week while Auburn had to go to Norman. Emotional game, whatever. You can make the argument about the officiating calls. I've voiced my concerns about that on Twitter, or at least my opinions about that on Twitter and on the Sunday reaction, or early Sunday, late Saturday reaction. But I just don't like the spot for Auburn right now. I think A&M wins and they cover. Not to mention, too, this is revenge too for A&M. I mean, last year's game was the definition of insanity. Like 4 or 5 overtimes, a weird, crazy game. Auburn had a huge lead and they let it collapsed, and A&M ended up losing that game. But this is revenge for A&M too. So yeah, I feel pretty good for A&M here. I think they win and they cover. And then we come Sunday, or yeah, I guess Sunday after the game's over on Saturday. I could be wrong. So picking A&M to win, and I think they cover. I just don't like the dynamic for Auburn. I think A&M being rested helps them, and yeah, I just don't. Like I said on Saturday on the reaction show, the recap. Find me any games for Auburn the rest of the year that are going to be favored in. Again, look, I'm not saying this to be mean or anything about Auburn. It's just find me any of those games, right? The Missouri game, they'll be toss-up. Vanderbilt out on the road, you're probably going to be a dog again. Imagine telling yourself that 10 years ago. And then, like, the Georgia, clearly you'll be a dog. Bama at home, you'll probably be a dog again. So it doesn't get any easier for Auburn, that's all I'm saying. And hopefully Hugh Freeze, if this ends up happening, they end up losing this game, and they all of a sudden go from 3-0 to all of a sudden being 3-2, and don't lose the locker room. Hopefully they don't, because they get Georgia coming to town in a few weeks. So it's in your best interest to don't lose this game. But welcome to college football in 2025, I guess. Next up, more. We got two more games here. Illinois at USC hosting on. No, that's not right. Illinois hosting USC. Yes, not USC hosting Illinois. Yes, so it's Illinois hosting USC. USC is a 7.5 point favorite, going to FanDuel. Of course, Illinois coming off the blowout at Bloomington, which we corrected. We correctly predicted. So there's that. Touchdown down the Sunday reaction show. But yeah, we corrected that. We correctly predicted that. There we go. Yeah, we correctly predicted that. Of course, Illinois and I guess wounded Illini mode, I guess. USC coming to town -7.5. Now, here's sort of the conundrum here. I think USC is a good team offensively. I think Jaden Miava, sort of the way he's sort of been playing so far within the offense, and I'm sure a lot of folks haven't watched all of USC. I have a little bit, but Jaden has done pretty well for USC. The quarterback situation there, it's been pretty good for them. He's been solid for them. Defensively, though, giving up 31 points to Michigan State, doesn't really it doesn't give me much confidence. But it was a look ahead spot. So Michigan State with Vane Childs and them and company, they're not a bad team, but interesting to say the least. You're going on the road again. The last time they're on the road was against Purdue, and that the final score makes it seem like it was a massive, makes it a little bit closer than it would have been or than it should have been. I think obviously Purdue, if their situation very owed them, it's going to take them a little bit to get going. But it makes me wonder here for Illinois, given that they are in sort of wounded Illini mode, given what happened last week, the embarrassment, it makes me wonder. I think they said this on the recap reaction show. Could Illinois, if they were to pull this off, given this big spread, could they sort of package up what happened last week, and they're coming back home, they're hosting USC, USC has to travel to them, and could they package this as, what, last week we're not that bad. We are still a very good team, going back to fundamentals, going back to sort of that mindset of we're trying to prove to the world, college football world, that what happened last week was not a clear representation of who we are as a program. Very much still possible here. Very much still possible. I think Illinois with Luke Altmaier and Brett Bielema sort of emphasis on good defense, and his offense has changed a little bit, but I think for Illinois, for them to pull this off, if they were to do so, they've got to find receivers to step up. And look, that's something that Bud Elliott on Cover 3's mentioned, right? It's just that they have not, going back to December from what Bud was hearing, when he was doing his summer school, when he was talking to some of the folks over at Illinois, I think it was for that. But anyway, from what he has heard from Illinois people, it's, hey, who's your best receiver? What's the receiver room look like? And he was sort of given a whole list of names. And from what Bud said, and like I trust him, he doesn't have confidence in that. And so far this season has sort of validated that, right? That they have no real receiver that's really stepped up and been a clear number one. They're going to find that, or at least have someone step up. We'll see. Again, the FanDuel line is -7.5 for USC. The college football nerds model, however, and I'm pretty sure this is still how it is. I don't think the guys over there have changed it, but I have it listed here on my notes as non-usable because it's way out of whack. I think let me just give you guys an example here. I wish I could show you guys live because it's on my laptop here. Let me see here. Illinois. Look, I mean, if you go into the model on the website, College Football Nerds, you know what I'm talking about. So let's see here. We'll do USC, add in Illinois. And again, if you've played with their model yet, you know what I'm talking about because it's kind of jarring to see this. I'm sure it's still the same. Yeah, it's like the score prediction is 61-20. I don't really necessarily agree with that. That's kind of extreme. Again, I get it. Very small sample size, and a lot of that's baking in the Indiana game. I kind of feel like the Indiana game is a bit of an outlier. I think it's an outlier. I could be wrong on that, but so their model, we can't use it for this game. Only game this week, it's like not usable, but I do think USC wins the game. I do think this I don't know. Just something about USC to me feels like they're under the radar. They've been handling this whole situation so far of their schedule fairly well, I think. I mean, look, last week could have been a very much a disaster given what they had coming up, right? Because I mean, this is the game everyone's circling. Now they're here, but the problem is they all thought that Illinois would be, undefeated as well, and they lost. They got destroyed, rightfully called by me last week at Indiana. So again, I can't get out of my head this whole idea of Illinois being in wounded animal mode, or I guess wounded Illini mode. I think USC wins the game, but I think Illinois covers it. This will be a very close competitive game. I do think USC wins. I think Illinois is going to represent themselves well. I don't expect this to be a blowout. I don't. So there's that. Next one, last game here. LSU at Ole Miss. This is the 3:30 game on ABC. Ole Miss, according to FanDuel, is minus 1.2. I think. Is that correct or not? Let me double check. See here, LSU 1.5, not 1.2. So that's incorrect. 1.5. The College Football Nerds model. That's actually what the score is. But we'll cover that in just a second. But this game also a revenge game too, much like the Auburn game was. This one is also a revenge game for Ole Miss. They lost to LSU last year, which was correctly predicted by me and Josh Pay. I'll give Pay some credit there because of the scheduling dynamics. No scheduling dynamics here at all. This is both of these teams are undefeated. Both of them are ranked in the top 15. I think the biggest thing here for Ole Miss, now I think it doesn't matter who's the quarterback, whether it's the Calabasas kid or whoever, Chambliss, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Probably should. Whether it's him or Austin Simmons, who has been a large disappointment. I mean, he's been injured, but let's be real, he's been silently benched because of a lot of turnovers and whatnot. Regardless of whoever the quarterback is, whether it's the Calabas kid or whoever his name is, or Austin Simmons, I trust Lane Kiffin to put out a good offensive performance, even though, despite the fact that the other kid, Simmons, will turn the ball over a lot. But I do trust LSU's defense as much as we just talked about Ole Miss, how much of a threat they are, and I do believe they're the best offense that LSU has faced all year. Given they faced Florida, who I thought they had a good quarterback, turns out not so much. Then Clemson, this is the best offense we've faced. And I think what's interesting for Ole Miss is that while a lot of folks look at them and say, hey, they're undefeated and they blew out Tulane last week, which, look, that is impressive. I will say that. But I do wonder about Ole Miss and how different this team is from last year. Yes, they did fairly well in the portal. Yes, Lane's very good in terms of getting talent to sort of fit what he does on offense. But they lost a lot of key players from last year that they brought back for a reason, like Walter Renault and guys like that, guys who are, especially on the D-line. I just don't know if I trust Ole Miss, and that concerns me. If I'm an Ole Miss fan, that you're going against a very, very, I guess you're going to different. I guess you're going to this game with a very different mindset that you're gonna have to score a lot of points. Because I don't trust the Ole Miss defense. Because I don't think they've faced a legit P4 opponent. Yeah, and for LSU, I mean the offense has been sort of it is what it is. Is what it is. Is what it is. Of Nussmeier, he's been hurt. Well, not injured, but dealing with a minor injury, at least injury that's not causing him to miss time, but he's not been fully well. I think for LSU, if you're looking at it from their standpoint, their defense is really, really good. And despite the fact that they faced, again, really, really bad offenses that have not been very good, or at least to the level of Ole Miss, I still think LSU defense is really, really good. And I think for Ole Miss, on the flip side, it's very much so a challenge. So it is kind of, in a sense, a version of the train derailment theory. In a sense, if you're new here, train derailment theory is sort of like these little things, and you would think about when trains derail, not crashes, right? Derailment is when, like, I don't know, like a freight car goes off the tracks or whatever. It's little things that can cause that to happen, right? Where it's like the railroad ties, the beams, if the wooden beams aren't, settled enough, or the iron rails aren't, there's an issue with that or whatnot, or the track's overgrown. That does translate to college football. And these are the little things that can happen sometimes where it's like a block punt or, just all these little things that you may not see them as big things necessarily at the moment, like at the time. But once the game's over and, win or lose, you go, man, just one little thing happened, went this way or went the other way, outcome could be a lot different. So I think for LSU, even though the offense has been what it is with Nussmeier being hurt and, the O-line's up in opposite what it was last year, and that was going to be the case regardless, even if Nussmeier was healthy, I still trust their defense, man. I still trust Blake Baker and Kevin Peoples and that whole staff there. I believe Bo Davis is there now too. I still trust that defense, and I trust that they can get the crucial stops when they need it. I trust that they can handle whatever Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin are going to throw at them. I like LSU here, and college football nerds, their model agrees. They actually have the other team favored, and I agree with them. I think the wrong team's favored here. I think LSU wins the game outright. I think they cover. I just don't know if I trust Ole Miss right now, especially given the fact that they, they just don't have the same guys on defense last year, even though you're going against a very limited O-line. I don't know. I just don't. I don't know if I trust Ole Miss. And look, Lane could prove me wrong here. They could absolutely win this game, and they can get their revenge from Labin last year. And look, that'll be great if you're an Ole Miss fan. But I don't know if I trust him right now. But hopefully Lane Kiffin's not listening to this show. And that's it for the college football predictions so far. Again, we'll do the upset alerts and stuff, like, for example, the Tennessee-Mississippi State game, Washington-Ohio State. We will cover those on Thursday during upset alerts, so just be tuned to that. I'm going to get some water real quick. We are actually going to get something ready real quick on my Twitter here, just to be sure I have this pulled up in time. I think I do. Yes, this graphic. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, if anyone who's new here, if you're a regular here, and this is a bit of a reminder, what we do cover a lot of college football, and that's been an emphasis for a while. We do cover, Star Wars and Marvel as a Star Wars fan and a Marvel fan. When there's news to be talked about, and sure, there's news for both. I guess for Star Wars, of course, we talked about this on Thursday with the Mandalorian movie trailer. Well, it's supposed to come out Thursday because of the whole behind-the-scenes stuff there over there at ABC and Disney right now. What's currently going on, but back to last week, of course, that's why it was delayed. A lot of the Hollywood trades confirmed that. Got it randomly posted yesterday, and I watched the trailer. It's very much so similar to the Star Wars Celebration trailer and that D23 footage back last year, I believe. Very similar. I can see, I guess the way I can sort of describe this trailer, I can sort of understand why folks are concerned about this movie. It definitely seems like a movie for the third season of The Mandalorian, or the fourth season, which is not. It's the movie, Mandalorian and Grogu. It looks like a TV show to me, man. Look, I'm not trying to sit here and dog like Filoni and Favreau. Look, I have a lot of respect for those guys. Look, I'm a big fan of the Star Wars and Clone Wars, the not the original one, the 2D1, 3D one. All seasons, even with its flaws, it's a really good show, in my opinion. I saw this on Twitter earlier from, I believe it was Josh over at Den of Nerds brought this up, and it's very poetic, right? That Filoni's first, when he first came on the Clone Wars and their movie, which was supposed to be the first 3 or 4 episodes of the Clone Wars season 1, that sort of got zombified into a movie. And I remember watching it when I was in elementary school, and even through nostalgic tinted glasses, I can see that movie for its flaws. It's not a good movie, okay? But nostalgia kind of kicks in, and I can forgive it for what it is. But it's really ironic that his first movie was about Jabba the Hutt's son being kidnapped, and it was supposed to be, originally supposed to be episodes of a TV show, sort of got zombified into a movie. It's ironic that his first live action debut is episodes of a season of television involving Jabba the Hutt's son being put out for a movie. Okay, I don't know. That's just weird how it works like that. And we were hearing stuff from a lot of sources like the Twitter scoopers and whatnot that there was a lot of concern about this movie. There was sort of a feel that Favreau and those guys were not really, I guess, heavily involved, or well, I guess not involved, but not really invested in the movie so much. Where it's like it wasn't a priority. Like I think it's clear that other things that we're doing over there at Lucasfilm and Disney, particularly with Star Wars, that are more of a priority, like the Thrawn movie, and of course Ahsoka season 2, definitely more of a priority than this. It just doesn't, even from the get-go when this was mentioned, being an actual movie, it just kind of felt like, oh, you're fast tracking something because you haven't had something in the theaters, at least Star Wars wise, in like almost a decade. So yeah, it looks like a TV show. The effects aren't really that good. I mean, look, it's cool to see Mando and Grogu on a movie screen. But again, I don't know. It feels to me, it's like it doesn't feel that different than, any of these Disney Plus shows, even some of the better ones. It's just like it doesn't feel that much different. And it just feels like a movie that should be on Disney Plus, frankly. But of course, we're not going to, and they're really banking on it, making a lot of money. But yeah, I mean, it just feels like to me this trailer confirms that they're really putting a lot more effort into Ahsoka season 2 and the Filoni's movie. That's sort of where it's at right now. Look, it's cool. We get to see Zeb from Rebels, and he was in Mando season 3, not in Ahsoka first season, which was really weird given how many Rebels characters there were. But cool to see Zeb there in live action doing some stuff, and it was kind of brief. But I don't know. I just I don't know. I just don't know how to feel about it. I mean, cool. It's going to be a movie, but it just the quality seems kind of shitty, to be honest. It just doesn't. It doesn't really even seem unique to me. It doesn't feel different from any other Star Wars stuff we have seen lately. So, except for Andor, I guess, in terms of quality. But I don't know. Just we'll see. Look, I'll give it a chance. We'll see. Look, it could be fun. It could be like just a jolly good time in the movie theaters. Yeah, it might be a dumb, film may not have a whole lot of connection to what's going on with the Ahsoka series and what's going on with Thrawn coming in. But we'll see. Just thought it'll be, given its budget getting sort of getting a bigger budget, I just thought it'll just look better, and it really does not look any different from any of the other seasons of Mandalorian. I guess it just doesn't. So there's that. All right, back to college football. Tuesday poll, week 5. I got the spreadsheet up just yet. Let me get that. Again, we do this every single Tuesday. That's why it's called the Tuesday poll. Let me get it put up here on the spreadsheet here. And I do keep track of all this. So a lot of movement, by the way. So I guess we'll go, as we usually do, sort of countdown. We'll do here 25 through 20. So we're counting down. So on YouTube here, it's only just my face here, so I can't share this. I guess I kind of could, but maybe in the future we'll do that at some point down the road. But I guess you have to believe me. So I'm going to read this off from my computer screen here on Spotify. You just have to imagine it. May or may not post this on Twitter later, but we'll see. It's kind of a hassle to do it because it's on a spreadsheet and you have to, it's kind of weird. But trust me, it does exist on my spreadsheet. But anyway, let's go 25 through 20. So at number 25, Memphis. They beat Arkansas. They are currently the undefeated, or the last big undefeated G5 team. They're being fast-tracked, in my opinion, to be in that college football playoff discussion. Them in South Florida still. We'll see in the American. But Memphis debuting at 25. At 24, welcome back, TCU. I think, let me double-check. Are they 4-0 or not? That might be made that correction here. I don't think they are. No, they're 3-0, so that's wrong. Good thing I'm not posting this on Twitter. So, yeah, that's a factual error. They were 3-0, not 4-0, that bye week early. But still, TCU, you're back in the top 25 in the Tuesday pool. I believe they also made their debut. Well, they were in it a couple weeks ago. They just got taken out because other teams were moving in. But right now, TCU is back. Memphis is not ranked in the AP or the coaches, which is atrocious. Didn't mean for that to rhyme. But let's see here. So Memphis at 25, TCU at 24. Auburn is still in the rankings. They're at 23. They're still a fairly decent team. Look, if they continue to lose, they may drop out. We'll see, but we'll see. 22, Louisville. I believe they're back. I don't think they're in there. Well, they moved up. So they're at 20. They're at 22. Mississippi State, quiet 4-0. Again, they host Tennessee. Be careful. More on that Thursday. 20 at number 20, Missouri. So Mississippi State's at 21. Missouri at 24. Now let's go 19. Let's do 19 through 16 here. I guess we'll do these teams. Number 19, Tennessee. Didn't move a whole lot. Didn't move them down at all. I think they're about the same as they were last week a little bit. I guess they moved up a little bit, but not that much difference. Let's see here. I saw 19 Tennessee, 18 USC. A little bit lower in my opinion, because their schedule's been kind of what it is. Look, if they beat Illinois, then they should be okay. They will move up a little bit. Next, Texas, way down, 17. Not been impressed with them at all. And no, beating Sam Houston by 100 points is not going to move you back up into the top 10. So no, that's and look, I'll admit this is pretty jarring to see Texas down here this low, but it is what it is. At 16, Bama, they've sort of been floating around that 16 to 17, 14 range. Not really much of a change there. More. Let's see. Let's go to 15 through 11 here. South Florida, still at 15. Just because the Miami result happened, you're still in the top 15, I think. So you should be ranked still, in my opinion. I think it's kind of strange that you get kicked out and then just because you lost one game to Miami, even though you just beat Boise State, the darling at the preseason, according to us, and you also beat UF. So yeah, USF 15, 14, Vanderbilt, a little bit lower than some folks. I know Josh Payne, the commissioner's spot is in the top 10. I'm not there yet, but 10 to 15 range, I think that's pretty fair for Vanderbilt. I think being ranked as low as they are in the coaches and the APs kind of a little too extreme, in my opinion. So they're at 14. 13, Notre Dame, still a good team. You lose 2 games to 2 quality opponents. I'm not dropping you that far. Got a message here. I think these folks should know I'm live, so I'm going to respond to that. Thumbs up. So, yeah, these people should know I'm live right now, but whatever. Let's see here. LSU. We did Notre Dame. LSU at 12. Look, they're undefeated. Defense is really good, but offense still, the Nussmeier thing, that's keeping them a little bit lower than where they probably should be. And also part of it's because teams also rose up. And then at number 11, Indiana. Welcome in, debuting, by the way, fairly high, by the way, going from unranked to 11. That's pretty extreme. All right. Let's see here. Top 10. I guess we just go plow through the top 10. All right. So again, we're starting at 10 all the way to number 1. So number 10, Texas Tech. Huge win over Utah. You get rewarded by being a number 10. Number 9, Texas A&M. Off last week, didn't move that much. Georgia Tech on 4-0, undefeated. I think they should be in the top 10. They're a very good team. Ditto with Florida State, number 7. A little bit lower than some other polls, but I think 7, anywhere in the top 10 for me with Florida State's fair. They're good. They're looking good. And yes, Tommy Castellanos is fine. It looks like it's not a Jordan Travis situation, so that's good. And he should be okay. Now, whether or not he is available for the Virginia game, we'll see. More on that Thursday. Number 6, Oklahoma. Didn't move that much. They're at number 6. I believe the top 6 did not change that much, so the rule changes here. But if you need a reminder, so Oklahoma at 6, Georgia 5, didn't play this week. Oregon at 4, no change. Penn State, ditto, they were off, no change. And then Miami at number 2, I believe that is the change. And then Ohio State at 3, at number 1, we're off this week. So that is the Tuesday poll, Week 5 edition of the rankings that we do here. Got 2 more college football topics, out Avengers topic, and you can tell this will be a long show. Then we have Jets Bucks reaction. So before we get into all of those, I'm gonna get some more water real quick. I guess as we're here again, make sure to subscribe to the channel, podcast feed, X, Twitter. Make sure to follow over there. Very important to do so. The SEC is revealing their rivals because again they're going to this new 9-game schedule, and because of that, they're having to add in another protected rival. So there's 3 now. So it's being revealed tonight. Now I do believe Chris Lowe over at On3 got it late, so it's out there now. So there's no real reason to watch that stupid show. So we'll do it for you. We'll react to it. We'll go through some of these, I guess, some of the big ones. I guess we'll go in alphabetical order. Bama, Auburn, Tennessee, and Mississippi State, I think is what's being leaked out there. Tennessee, Auburn being on there is fine. Mississippi State, I'd say niche rivalry, but it technically is. But it's not one that, let's be real, a lot of Bama fans don't even know it. I think the reason why we're going to see a lot of these teams get some of these some of these like weird teams as the third team is mainly because of has to do with like the historical, like the past, if you will, of like, for example, like with Auburn, for example, there's no LSU, even though they should be on there, but they're not going to because of Auburn in the past has had a lot of, they've used to toe historically the toughest schedule in the country. So I think that's why they're doing it as a bit of like an apology, but not for some schools. And this next one is, so Bama, they get Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Auburn, Arkansas. So Arkansas, for the longest time, has gone the shaft from the SEC, whether it's scheduling back like during COVID or whatnot, and the recent scheduling the past couple of years. They, being projected by Chris Lowe, at least based on what he has heard, play Missouri, Texas, and LSU. Sorry, for my friends in Fayetteville and any Arkansas fans, that sucks, man. That you have to play. Oh man, I don't know. Shame on the SEC for giving Arkansas the shaft there, and they can't catch a break. Auburn, as I mentioned, and this was leaked too, by the way, a long time ago too. A lot of these have been theorized for a while, and they're just now getting leaked out properly. So Auburn's getting Georgia, Bama, no surprise. They get Vanderbilt. Okay, would have liked to see an LSU there, but regardless, whatever. Florida, weird one. They get Georgia, which is fine, but South Carolina and Kentucky. I knew Kentucky was a rivalry. Well, it's not an official rivalry, but kind of is. No Tennessee being on here is kind of odd to me. I don't understand that one. So that one's weird. Georgia, I guess kind of makes sense. Auburn, Florida, no big deal. No Tennessee being on there every single year is kind of odd, but I guess South Carolina has an easy rivalry to have. Whatever. Kentucky, the Florida one, again, it's a niche thing, but okay. Tennessee makes sense geographically. South Carolina, I kind of guarantee they just made that one up. More. LSU, again, would have liked to see an Auburn and Bama on here, but again, I think you better sort of balance it, quote unquote balance it, even though you freaking gave Arkansas one of the toughest rivalry slates you can give anyone. LSU, again, would like to see Bama and Ole Miss, and Bama and Auburn on there, but again, because of the whole quote unquote balance thing, you have to make it somewhat reasonable. So they get Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. Fine. Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt. Okay, and then in Bama, it's all right. Again, I don't know if that's like a real big rivalry. I'm aware of it being existing, but that's because I'm a college football sicko. I don't think anyone from like Tim from Powell, Wyoming, is gonna know that that Bama and Mississippi State are rivals. More. Missouri against Arkansas makes sense geographically. Texas A&M and Oklahoma, kind of a sneaky hard there. Then them and Arkansas got the shaft here a little bit. Now we'll say this: the OU got the biggest shaft. But I agree with Bud Elliott on Twitter. Man, if you're a season ticket holder for Oklahoma, you're mad because you get your rivalries. And again, you have the Texas game, but that's neutral site though. That's not a home game. So that one is a caveat. That one really doesn't count. So your two biggest rivalry games at home or away, depending on every single year, is going to be Missouri and Ole Miss. Yeah, I mean, if you're a season ticket holder for OU, that's I'll just say that's bullshit. I'm just saying what it is. That's total bullshit. That's not fair. Ole Miss, the LSU thing makes sense. Again, that's more of a niche rivalry. Oklahoma, I guess it's kind of cool you get to play them every single year, but if you're an OU fan, it's like, come on, really? That's crap. And then Mississippi State's fine. South Carolina, a lot of these are repeats. You can't figure it out, but yeah, I mean the ones that really kind of baffle me, the three ones are the Arkansas one and Missouri, given because that's a tough pull there, and then Oklahoma just based on the fact that again, if you're a season ticket holder, especially at home in Norman, it's like seriously, this is the teams you're playing every single year. These two. Not to mention OU, the Texas OU game is always in Dallas, so that doesn't count. So, good job, SEC. Good job. Sarcasm. So yeah, my reactions to that, mixed bag. A little bit of late breaking news. So Mike Gundy was fired today. That was announced earlier. I believe Cover 3, those guys were actually doing their show on CBS Sports Network, and this broke after they got done, so they were on YouTube live earlier. So yeah, Gundy gets fired. No real surprise. I thought this was going to happen during the week or during the weekend, like during the early slate of the NFL games, sort of like what happened last week. But He's out. So they have interim coach. I believe it's going to be Todd Grantham. Let me check here. Because I actually don't know for sure. I believe it is going to be Todd Grantham. Now, if it is, yeah, hey, if you're, like Lance Leipold and Sonny's like coaches like Kenny Dillingham and the Big 12, you want that because Third and Grantham is actually not him. It's actually Doug Meacham is the interim. So I guess that makes it for an Oklahoma State fan. I guess you're kind of getting the better one. But I mean, if you're opposing fan bases, I think you would have much rather had Mr. Third and Grantham being your interim for Oklahoma State. But regardless, we can get to candidates and all of that and whether this job's good enough in a second. But just to sort of, I guess, eulogize Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy's tenure, used to be the model of consistency. That's the way Josh Payton described it. And it kind of was, right? Even in a conference that had Texas and OU, Oklahoma State was sort of this model of consistency in Gundy's prime. And when college football wasn't what it is right now. I mean, it had multiple 10-win seasons, multiple appearances in the conference championship game. Yes, didn't win all of them, but they're still around, right? And I kind of think back to several years, right? 2011 being their big year. Of course, before that they had like the Des Bryant era back in like 07, 08. But I think the first big year for Oklahoma State, at least them on the map of college football, at least being reintroduced to college football with Mike Gundy was in 2011, right? Brandon Wheaton, Blackman, Justin Blackman, the receiver. I think. I guess there's two Blackmans. There's the kid at Florida State, the quarterback, and then the receiver. Blackman, the receiver. Yeah, he was the receiver. He was really good. Other than NFL, he sort of was not in the league very long. But, that's sort of that year. Of course, that was the year they lost to Iowa State. And that sort of prevented them from going to the BCS championship game. But that was sort of the year when a lot of folks sort of got reintroduced to Oklahoma State, at least on the national level. Tapered off a little bit, and then 2013, I believe, was the other sort of big year I remember. That was the year when they beat, destroyed Baylor. That was with Bryce Petty and that DeVere and Shoot, the Bear Bryles offense. I remember watching that. Just amazed at how, insane that game was for Oklahoma State and how just a total destruction, if you will, just a complete splattering there. And then you have other years like 2015, 2017 were really good years for them. And, of course, I believe it was 2021 where they were just a yard short of winning the Big 12 championship game against Baylor and Dave Aranda. And then a couple years ago, Volley Gordon, when they played Texas in their final year in the Big 12. So, I mean, yeah, think about it. I mean, Oklahoma State outside of OU and Texas a little bit, although Texas, for a large part of that era, was not consistent. But besides OU, Oklahoma State was the model of consistency in the Big 12. And that has not been the case. The last year, they were dreadful last year. They were bad. Could have easily fired him last year, Gundy, but they didn't because I think a lot of those folks here, I think they respect Gundy, and also they thought that they just didn't have the means to do it last year. And now, losing to Tulsa, which I mentioned on the reaction recap show, kind of felt like it was bubbling for a while because all of those games against Tulsa were weirdly close, and finally it ended up being going to the direction of Tulsa against Oklahoma State. But Mike Gundy, and everyone will talk about the off the field stuff, and I'm not here to discuss that. You can go over places for that, but just him as a college football coach and him and just the sort of the historical significance he'll have on that program, sort of like Gary Patterson at TCU, right? Gary Patterson very similarly gets fired, a lot of it because of the changing landscape of college football, with the portal and NIL, and it didn't seem like he was down for that. I think unfortunately Mike Gundy kind of fell into that, and it happened kind of quickly. So I'll miss him for sure. Now, in terms of Oklahoma State, and I'm sure the guys on Curve 3 have mentioned this too, and other people have mentioned this too. What I want for Oklahoma State, at least what I'm thinking they'll go, is obviously they want to go someone who can sell tickets, right? So think about someone going offensive, right? And someone who is doing it in a modern college football world, someone who invested in NIL and someone who can, fundraise really well. And again, that's a part of it. But I think the big thing is to get people in the seats, right? I think the offense over the last couple of years has really changed a little bit. It's not been the air raid stuff and the scoring a lot of points. It's been more of running the football and emphasizing defense. With when they used to have Jim Knowles years ago. I think if you're Oklahoma State and if you're a fan, you need to hope that you get someone who can score points. So think like an Alex Kalesh or someone like that. I'm not saying necessarily him, though I do think he may want to wait out and get better jobs. I've seen Chris Kleiman's name, the former Kansas State quarterback, and he's currently A&M as an OC. His name's been mentioned, so we'll see about that. But I just wonder, much like Wisconsin, some of these other jobs that may end up opening, like them, Virginia Tech, and UCLA. Do they care about football? Do they take it seriously? You know, do they have enough funds? Do they have enough oomph around them? Do they have enough support? That's sort of what I wonder about for Oklahoma State. And again, I think the bigger impact is trying to get folks in the seats, right? Try to get people in the stands, getting sort of getting that buy-in back. And what sells tickets is offense, right? Scoring points. You saw that when Tennessee hired Josh Heupel. People thought, all right, good hire in terms of getting folks invested still, and whether that's the long-term hire, we'll see. But they looked into it, and I think Oklahoma State, while there's no scandal or anything, they just need some excitement there, and I think that's what they need. I need someone who can also help drive in the revenue stuff and get that going with NIL. But they also need to get people in the seat. They need to score points. There's not doing it, right? I think scoring 19 or scoring 12 points against Tulsa is not going to cut it. So, thoughts on Gundy? It's sad he's gone, but I think this was something after last year, and even a little bit at times throughout the last few years has been sort of mentioned as either him resigning or retiring or getting fired. So that happened just before we got started on the show. One more thing here before we get to Bucks Jets reaction. I know there was a doomsday leak, Avengers doomsday leak recently this week, and now there's a fake photo of like the AI photos. That's not real, guys. That's not what's been going around. But what is real is this, like, because I know they wrapped up filming recently. I know there was like a costume designer or whatever. They were given this like commemorative, like thing or whatever, and it's like a little, is it like a bag or something? I don't know for sure, but it has like little like drawings of the characters in it. All of the characters who have been announced to come back, right? And it kind of interesting because while it does confirm, like, we're getting the comic accurate, costumes for the X-Men, the original Fox X-Men, which is cool, at least the ones who will be in it and whatnot, and gives us some new looks and whatnot. But I think what this does reaffirm that the people, the actors and actresses and whatnot who were announced in that chair reveal will be the main focal points of the movie. Even though, despite the fact we're getting all this stuff about, other characters like Doctor Strange or, Scarlet Witch being involved and other X-Men hopefully coming in, even though I've been telling you guys, and then I've not been too confident that a lot of the other original X-Men, the Fox X-Men, are coming back for various reasons. I don't think they're going to. I think there will be a lot of missing spots from the X-Men, from the X-Men roster that, it's whether for personal reasons for some of them, or just because of the money. They can't get everyone. There is such thing as a budget for this movie, and it'll be, money's Disney certainly has a lot of money, and at some point you have to cut the line and say, okay, we can bring everyone back. But I do expect to be a fairly decent amount of X-Men, of the OG Fox X-Men that will not be able to be in the movie. So you're ready for that right now, and I think a lot of other folks are sort of echoing that same sentiment as well. So yeah, it's cool we're getting that sort of confirmed and sort of getting the first leaks here. But for the most part, outside of stuff like that and stuff like the sets and whatnot that were leaked out a while ago, we have not really seen anything official, and it makes me wonder. Again, will the like the 1 year out, which will be in December, will we get something potentially? We'll see. But Avengers Doomsday Leak came out again, sort of reaffirms all the things we were thinking. The Fox X-Men getting their, the classic comic book costumes, and yes, it also sort of confirms that those will be the main players of the X-Men, and the other ones, if they are indeed will be in the movie, very unlikely, I think, which is sad, but kind of is what it is. Moving right along here, we've been going for an hour. Again, this is going to be a long show. Jets Bucks reaction. We'll wrap up. Good win for Tampa. I mean, look, given the injuries and stuff, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, the special team stuff, we'll get to that here in a moment. The offense wasn't totally clean the entire day. There was some good stuff going on. I know it came out earlier, too, right at the same time as the Mike Gundy news that Mike Evans is going to be out for a while. Like I said on Twitter, I think, or at least I said it out loud when I was watching. I was like, yeah, that's when he pulled his hamstring. I was like, yeah, that's kind of what we've drafted Ibuka as the insurance policy. So I'm not too concerned. It sucks for Mike. It definitely hampers the streak of having 1,000-yard receiving seasons. We'll see if he's able to make up for that, because he's losing a lot of time. But we'll see. But I mean, look, I think the thing that's really worrisome for Tampa, it's not so much the defense, and it's not so much the offensive stuff. It's mainly the special teams, which has been a freaking trend, man. It's like first game, McLaughlin misses a field goal. Second game, misses another field goal, misses the extra point too in the first game. Then this week, a field goal blocked. It's like, I don't know what it is, but Tampa special teams, man, that's been a problem for them. And look, they get the Eagles come to town. It's, the big crew, Fox crew. So it's KB, Tom, and Tom Brady, Rinaldi, and Aaron Andrews will be there. But that game on Sunday is looming real large for them. And we'll have more on Thursday. But I think even that game is kind of an example of train room theory, So I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, it was I guess a little bit different in college than it is or it is in the NFL, because in college – the term win is not doesn't apply in college. It doesn't apply in the NFL because, again, the talent level is way more spread out. Of course, it's pro football, right? Of course, college, a win is a win against the FCS team it does not apply. It's not a good win. But this one, definitely a confidence boost. And look, if you're a Jets fan, man, I feel so sorry for you guys that that was a close call. I mean, look, as soon as they returned that touchdown, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I was just fairly disappointed in Bucs special teams. And look, credit to Baker again, having to play superhero again to wheel us to never win. First 3-0 start in, I believe, 15 years, So how about that? If they do beat the Eagles, though, Tampa at that point will be in the driver's seat for the number one seed in the NFC side of the playoffs, and potentially a big year ahead of them. But still a long ways to go. And of course, we'll preview that game on Thursday. But yeah, a bit of a mixed bag for Tampa. Defense too kind of crumbled a little bit towards the end. Yeah, I mean, not to mention penalties too. Again, I haven't mentioned that yet. Just still Flag Day in Tampa. Just on this one. And look, I will say I know a lot of folks will say, "Oh, I mean, the refs are being picky." I don't even think the refs are being picky. It was just a lot of undisciplined football. Just a lot of weird vibe stuff. I don't know. But and I thought a lot of the calls were fairly agreeable. I thought the crew did a fairly good job in policing that, I guess. But yeah, just a lot of driving killers too. A lot of crucial, weird holding penalties. Again, when you go back to the replay, it's makes sense holding there. So hopefully that's not a trend too. But the special teams thing is a trend. And that's really concerning, especially when you have tougher games coming up starting this weekend. So, and that's the show. So going for an hour and 12 minutes. The voice is barely making it through. So yeah, hopefully the camera on YouTube is a new thing we'll start. But yeah, we'll be back on Thursday, same as usual, around the same time. So until then, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, enjoy your Wednesday. Until then, we'll see you guys on the next stream, and take care of yourselves and each other.